think you should.
Welcome back to this week's episode of Whoscussion. We're going to be covering for part B this week, again, The Light at the End, the 50th anniversary, the only one they released, and a full life, a fourth, well, yeah, it's a fourth Doctor short trip, but with a twist.
It's an Edric short trip.
Yeah, it's an Edric short trip. So, The Light at the End, I'll take us away. So, the 8th Doctor and Charlie, this is a couple of weeks into their adventures. I think it takes place just a little while after the Sword of Orion. Minute Hell. So, the Doctor and Charlie, they're in their buddy-buddy phase, pre-divergent, before they start hating each other. And they're having a good time. But the TARDIS starts going awry. Everything starts going awry for everybody, and the first 8 Doctors start having some trouble with their TARDISes. The 8th Doctor and Charlie end up getting separated on this world that they've landed on. It was a bit like a junk heap. Charlie thinks she's found the TARDIS. She puts her TARDIS key in, she walks inside, and she finds the 4th Doctor and Leela.
Oh yeah.
And hello there. I'm the Doctor. I beg your pardon? Oh, please don't. So the 4th Doctor, this is Tom Baker's first story with Big Finish, and he knocks it out of the park. He walks back into his boots of the Tom Baker's 4th Doctor from the 70s and 80s, and he's just having a great time. Louise Jameson returns as young Leela. Again, the last time we saw her in the 8th Doctor era adventure was with older Leela and the second Romana during the Neverland and Divergent Universe arc. So the 4th Doctor and Leela introduced themselves. The Doctor talks about regeneration and says, "I can't believe my future self hasn't told you about it." And then Leela goes, "What's regeneration?" And Charlie says, "You haven't told her either." "Oh, yes." Well. And it's funny because they point out the fact that the Doctor never really brings up this fact.
Yep, never does.
Yeah.
Until he dies.
Yeah.
Never brings it up.
It's like, hang on, he really should bring that up, especially if he dies around people, because how are they going to react to his face literally changing?
Yeah, which happens every single time his face has changed. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Maybe I should have explained this. The 7th Doctor and Ace start seeing visions of the 8th Doctor and all of his past selves' TARDISes. Ace is like, "What's going on, Professor?" And he goes, "They're all me, Ace." And she's like, "Well, hang on a second." And Ace just takes regeneration on the chin. She's like, "Oh, so you can regenerate. Okay, cool."
But she takes it even better, where she gives perfect identifying names for each one of the. Yeah, that's perfect.
Old man grey hair, Beatles haircut, frilly shirts, long scarf, cricketer, Joseph in the Technicolor raincoat, and Lord Byron. They're all you.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yes, Ace. Wicked. So the Doctors all end up falling for this trap except for 6. And I love that 6 is the only one who doesn't fall for it. 1, 2, and 3 fell for it first, and they tried to warn the future Doctors. But it turned out their warning, because they didn't have enough energy to break through the distortion of time, their warning actually turned out into an SOS to come to that specific location. So all the Doctors fall for it except for 6 and his companion Perry.
I guess 5 also doesn't fall for it.
Oh, yeah.
But his not falling for it is kind of the big problem.
Yeah, but his not falling for it is the biggest problem. So 5 ends up finding out about this guy called Bob. And he was very purposefully by the writers given such a generic name because there's these big universe-changing things happening around an everyday man. And he just happens to be in 1963 on the 23rd of November. And I love how all the doctors are like, I don't think anything important happened then. And then the first doctor's like, remember I lived in 1963. How did you guys forget this? I love how like one specifically brings it up. He's like, come on guys, I lived there, remember? This is important for our timeline. Oh, I totally forgot about that. Sorry, First Doctor. And I love that the First Doctor's just telling everybody off constantly. Like every time he appears.
Yeah, that is actually, he is. He's just like, no, you're idiots. Stop it.
He's just like, I can't believe you didn't understand my very specific message. Yeah, but it didn't come through properly. I don't care that it didn't come through properly. You should have worked it out.
You're all idiots. Why do I turn into idiots?
And like Susan's there. She's like, grandfather, what's going on? He's like, it doesn't matter, Susan. I'm trying to fix it, all right? Let's go back to reading your books. And so the third Doctor starts telling off the second Doctor as well. That's so great. I love that. Like the second Doctor and the third Doctor having an argument, and one's just trying to call everybody's jets and tell them they're idiots. Yeah. 4 and 8 start teaming up, and they find out pretty quick smart that it's the Master before he absorbs the body of Tremas. Yep. Which is good because this part of the fourth Doctor's timeline, this is the Master he'd be going up against, is the emaciated Master. The eighth Doctor and the fourth Doctor just make fun of him the whole time. I love it so much. All they're doing is just making fun of how dumb the Master's plan is and that he's dumb. And he's like, I'm not dumb. I'm so much cooler than you guys. I'm gonna kill all of you. The fifth Doctor finds out that this guy Bob's been tampered with by the Master. There's been something implanted into his mind that's changed his perceptions of the world. And the seventh Doctor and Ace, they go around just helping the other Doctors out periodically. And the sixth Doctor is getting to the bottom of everything. He finds out that the Celestial Intervention Agency wanted the Doctor killed, so they asked the Master to do it. And it backfired and blew up in their faces.
Not in the same way. Like, that's not really what happened. They were looking for weapons in basically the black market of weapons.
Yeah, with the vest.
in the science universe, which is interesting because the Daleks and the Cybermen, everyone else who's ever been evil, also uses these guys for their weapons. So it's like, what CIA guys? Come on, what are you doing?
Yeah, and they want to put some of them in the Black Archive as well, which will be in the Day of the Doctor.
Yeah, so they're like chilling. They're chilling. They're trying to get some weapons, and then the Master shows up and is like, "Ho ho ho! What are you doing here, guys?" And they're like, "Oh no, he's found us out. Oh, we're gonna have to keep this secret. Hey, you can just take one of these weapons if you keep it all in the hush hush." Yeah. And the Master's like, "Well, I know what I'm doing." And they're like, "Okay, you can kill a Doctor, whatever. That's cool." And then they realize, oh wait, the Doctor does totally big things to the web of time. Oh, we've done a big no-no.
And I love how Straxus is like, shut up, Sixth Doctor, and the Sixth Doctor's like, you're an idiot, and I'm awesome. And he just says that pretty much the whole conversation. And like the Sixth Doctor the whole time is just like, I'm the man. And then he finds out the other Doctors all fell for it, and he goes, it was clearly a trap.
Yeah.
It was clearly a trap, and so he gloats over all the Doctors. I love that so much. He's like, well, just so you know, guys, I didn't fall for the trap. And the fourth Doctor's like, oh my god, shut up. And he's like, I can't believe that happens to my fashion sense. And then 8 looks at him and goes, really? The guy with the impractical scarf? It's like, it was quite fashionable, isn't it? Like those Doctors, just all the Doctors together bickering, it was just so great. Just like the writing is so on the point. Who was the writer for this one? It was Nicholas Briggs. Oh, of course it was. The voice of the Daleks. It's so great. Just the chemistry, the fact that the Master gets trolled by 8 Doctors. He's like, I'm gonna kill all 8 of you. And the Doctor's like, there's 8 of us. You created an instance where there's 8 of the people who know how to defeat you. And the Master's like, oh, I really didn't think that through. Yeah. Like, the realization, and I love the performance Jeffrey Beavers gives, because the Doctor's almost crying. He's like, I wanted to win this time. I just wanted to win. And the fourth Doctor's like, there's 8 of me. Like, you really should have, planned this better. Maybe killed us off. If you just killed off the first Doctor, we wouldn't happen. It's like, yeah, but I wanted to torment all of you. I don't know why, really. So
really shouldn't have done that.
So the Master's plan is foiled, and we find out that Bob, who's the whole reason that the event happens, because he had a weapon inside his head called the causality bomb, and basically, if he said something and believed it to be true, he could cause it into existence. And so he said, and he believed the TARDIS was an impossibility, and therefore it didn't exist, and it only affected specifically the Doctor's TARDIS. So with that, the first Doctor doesn't escape from Gallifrey. And I love when Straxus brings up what's that's done to the timeline. He's like, yeah, so you don't stop the Dalek invasion of Earth, and the war chief, yeah, he amasses the strongest army ever. So we're in really big trouble, and we need you to stop the war chief and the Daleks. So yeah. The Sixth Doctor's like, you are an idiot. And I'm like, I just love that Straxus is like, I'm not an idiot. My mom thinks I'm cool. So he's, my loom thinks I'm cool. Bloody Longbar.
Oh,
bloody Longbar.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I think this is what a treat of a story. It's like, it's sort of lighthearted as well, even though the stakes are really high. It's real lighthearted because all the Doctors are like having a go at each other but getting along at the same time. And just the enthusiasm of like Ace and Charlie and all the companions that are with them. I think they were a great choice of the companions there, especially when they're going through the Fifth Doctor's timeline through those time apparitions, and Turlo thinks that Charlie's the Black Guardian. He's like, is it you? And Charlie's like, who? And Tegan's like, who the bloody hell are you talking to there, Turlo?
Yep.
It's a girl.
Exactly.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
It's just like, just what a brilliant little jaunt throughout time space. Harriet Skelly, what are your thoughts on the light at the end?
It was fantastic. It actually was. Like, there's so much to it that I really, really, really enjoyed. So much so that it made me sad at the same time that the real 50th was not like this. Well, I say the real 50th. This was the real 50th. The TV 50th was not the 50th in any shape or form. Is the sad thing, really, is that the only televised 50th that was even close to getting to where it really should have been was An Adventure in Space and Time, which didn't actually feature any of the real Doctors in it. So that's saying something, really, isn't it? That something that's two things that aren't BBC proper Doctor Who were better proper Doctor Who 50th anniversaries than the thing that was shown on TV and movies in select areas.
Yeah.
So it makes me sad in that way, but at the same time it makes me so happy that there's people out there who care enough about it to do this. And it was great. It was actually great that this is the case. I mean, I feel like the fact that it was the burn victim master wasn't necessary. Like, it could have been any master, but I guess that's just what they went with what they had on hand.
He's the only living classic master.
Exactly. So that's obviously the reason why they did it. But that's the beauty of it, is that they morphed the story around what they needed to make it work for having these Doctors in it. That's kind of what an anniversary is all about. You find all the actors you can, and then you write a story to include them all. That's what you do.
Exactly. But how do I include them? This is how.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's really it for me. Is I really enjoy every single piece of this. It fits really well for me. I love all the Doctors. They're great. I love the first three impersonators. They are also fantastic.
Yeah.
It's what the 50th should have been, and I'm glad I finally actually managed to listen to it.
Awesome. Alrighty, guys. Light at the end is this one's a tiny bit more pricey. It's about $5 New Zealand dollars. So that's like $3 American, and then a pound 50p in the UK. So I definitely suggest picking this up. Thanks to the cloud service that they offer for phones. You can have your Big Finish library follow you everywhere and everywhen in space-time. And with that, we'll move on to a full life, which is a bit more like a companion chronicle. Harriet Skelly, take us away.
All right. So A Full Life is a story written from Edric's perspective during the time in the East Space with the Fourth Doctor and Romana. Sometime after the Great Vampires and sometime before. Well, I guess it's not really. Yeah, it kind of is actually, except before before they leave proper. So it's written in the perspective of Edric doing like a tape. Like a voice tape recording of himself, recording his adventures, or just sort of doing his own little talk about things. It's interesting. It's explained further on in it that he's actually like doing this for like his grandkids sort of deal, and you're sort of like, interesting. Especially when it goes through and like within the first half of the story, the Fourth Doctor and Romana just straight up die, and Edric's stuck on this planet with a dead TARDIS and a dead K9. You're like, sorry, what's going on? So it plays out really interestingly with him going over this adventure that basically never happened, because he obviously changed time to fix it properly. Where they arrive on this planet where some guy has invented the way to bring people back to life, basically. So if they died recently, they could come back perfectly fine, healthy, normal people back to life. And immediately the Doctor and Romana are like, we're Time Lords, we can't let this stand. Only we're allowed to do that.
Yeah, right? Immortality is a curse.
Yep. So they show up, they go ahead and destroy the machine, but die in the process of doing so. And Edric basically ends up being stuck there on this planet, and basically becomes a recluse, does all this stuff. Eventually, like when he's like in his 30s, I guess, comes back into town once or twice and meets up with this first girl who was the first person to be brought back by this machine, who's recently also just lost her grandfather, and who is obviously also a little bit of a recluse because she wasn't particularly liked by everybody because of her being the first person to be brought back to life. So that's the thing that happens. Edric and her hit it off pretty well, and create a life together. And then eventually, in his future, he finally uses the things he'd taken out of the TARDIS to create another time machine, go back in time and fix it. Yeah, that's the storyline. It's really interesting, this play out of Edric's like life with this happening, where it's not what's supposed to happen, to the point where like he even like has dreams about what's supposed to happen in the universe, which is kind of interesting. It's got some real interesting aspects to it. I really suggest you give it a listen. I can't really like go into good detail about it because it's like 45 minutes long and got a lot of stuff going on.
It really does.
But it's real interesting, that you as much as like I kind of hate Edric, and more recently than not he's been even worse, so much so that even you don't like him, that you finally start like getting some insight into why he's like that. And the reason why I don't like him in general is because he reminds me a lot of my younger days and as a teenager, and then getting into this sort of level of stuff, I'm just like, yep, Edric is me. And it's really annoying that is the case. So that was kind of a big thing for me, but it's also just like it's real dark, you know, in the middle there with Thor and Romana being dead, and then the TARDIS destroying itself, and K9 slowly dying. It's just like, that's really dark. I didn't need that. I was expecting like a feel good story. Come on, I didn't need the sadness.
And the way they embrace it.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. But yeah, it's the things about it that do amuse me is that whole Doctor and Romana are like, we can't let this stand. We can't let them have immortality in any way, shape, or form. No, it's bad. Stop it. Only we're allowed that.
Only we're allowed that. Immortality's a curse.
It's so good.
Romana, don't tell them about the Matrix on Gallifrey.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it gets me. Like, there's prices to pay if you get your family back. It's not like I ever lose my family or anything. I could just go see them whenever I want in the Matrix. It's cool.
In fact, the second Doctor actually says that he can close his eyes and see them because he can connect with the Matrix on a telepathic level. My family might be dead, but I can see them whenever I want.
Yeah. So that's the story, really. It feels like a downer, but it's also kind of an upper at the end. It's a wild ride at the very least. It feels like it was a bit of an overload for a short trip. I probably wouldn't recommend just doing it in a small time frame where you got to do something afterwards. Give yourself some space in both sides to leave properly, because it was a ride.
This story, and you kind of said it when you were breaking it down. This story made me understand Edric.
Yeah.
And just Edric, and it hadn't really dawned on me before, but when we first ever meet Edric, he's already been through some proverbial, a lot of proverbial. And when he remembers his brother dying and the fact that it's kind of his fault, and I was like, that's something that not even New Who really goes into a lot, is reflection, unless of course Davros is there going, "You're the weapon." And it was just great to not have the oh moment. It was just Edric's there, he's reflecting, and he knows he could have done things better. And what's really sad about this is Edric lives a full life, which is why the story's called A Full Life. And we know, because Harry Skelly and I have seen his future thanks to the 8th Doctor, we know Edric doesn't get to live a full life. He gets the Katarina and Sarah Kingdom treatment.
Yes.
So him getting to have one is like an upper, but a hell of a downer, because he chooses the right thing to do. To go back and fix time-space. Because, as Harry Skelly was saying, he knows, he can see that in end space, the Master completed the Ferris project and started destroying planets, which was his plan in Legopolis, the 4th Doctor's final story.
I guess it's more of he messes up even worse because the Doctor's not there to fix the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
He totally destroys the universe and is just happy about it in general.
So it's great that Edric gets to have this life, a life he won't know because he'll be making it that he never had this life ever. And it's just such a kick in the pants, because
it really is.
He's there and he's got a grandchild, and I really love that right at the end of this, and this is the first time we've had multiple voice actors in it as well. Is right at the end, just before he hops in the machine to change reality, his granddaughter walks in.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Grandfather." And I was just like, "Oh my god, don't pull the Susan." If you want to instantly pull my heartstrings, pull a Susan.
Yeah.
And so...
You want tears. You want tears, you do it.
You
want tears, just have Susan say grandfather one more time.
Yeah.
I'll cry. I will do it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I've done it before. And I'll do it again.
I'll do it again. And so, it's just I think, and it's what Harriet says, is you need to have a bit of time before and after with this story, because there's a lot to mull over, and it's just Big Finish fixed a lot of issues with Doctor Who, and one of the major issues is people don't like Edric.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they gave Edric a swan song, and I'm just
yeah, they did.
Just how did Big Finish do it? I don't get it. They need to be staffed by BBC and write actual Doctor Who, because I want that to happen. I want a Nick Briggs New Who episode so bad. And Matt Fitton, he's another good writer from Big Finish. Pop him on there. There you go. Maybe a Nick Fitton crossover, 2-parter, Nick and Briggs. Yes. So this story is great. It's again, it's a short trip, so it's very, very cheap, and I thoroughly suggest picking this up. Just wow is all I have to say. It's a full Doctor Who story.
Yeah, it is.
It is a full life. With that, guys, we will catch you next week.